Welcome to episode 6 of Creepify True or False, the original animated web series where I put together spooky illustrations with scary stories. At the end of each episode, I'll tell you which stories were fictitious and which ones really happened. Hey man, if you choose to do this story and for your animation's sake, I am a guy. About a decade ago, I was living in Kansas. It's hard to believe now, but this was so long ago, and it was more of a drawn-out experience as opposed to a one-time event. I lived with a friend and his family in a house that used to be a retirement home many years ago. That family was its own horror story, but more specifically, the place was haunted. I can't confirm or deny this, but my friend's mother said one day she woke up to see a figure looming over her bed, one that swiftly disappeared. She was a woman who quite enjoyed a drink, or 10, but I wouldn't have been surprised at all if there were a peeping Tom ghost that gave her trouble. The occurrence that provoked my belief is the music. I can't even begin to explain how this would happen, but at night we would all hear jazz music that sounded like it was coming from another room. I always felt like I would see people out there grooving around to the jazz if I went out there, but anytime I'd step foot into the space where the songs were coming from, the room would grow silent. Now, I was a lot bolder in that period. I couldn't imagine doing this now, but one day when I was alone, I went down to the basement by myself. This gives me chills now just thinking about it, and I still can't believe my younger self's bravery. But I shut all the lights out and brought a recorder with me, and I thought I would do some EVP. If anyone doesn't know, it stands for Electric Voice Phenomenon. It's basically when you can record ghosts' voices on a device that you wouldn't be able to hear otherwise. So I was down there for a while trying to converse with one of my phantom roommates, and I began to hear what sounded like metal clinking on the concrete floor. I didn't realize it then, but some years later I realized it sounded like a walker moving across the ground. The process was as follows. I would ask a question, wait 10 minutes, not hear anything, and repeat the operation. It's hard to remember, but I'd say I spent at least an hour down there having a one-sided conversation with the air. So I got up, frustrated, and left, feeling defeated and like I got nowhere. But then I went to review the audio and got to the last question I asked. I didn't want to sound disrespectful to the ghosts and blatantly ask how they died. I know sometimes spirits don't always understand that they are dead and stuck lingering on the earth. So I asked, "Can you tell me how you got to where you are?" And I swear to you, clear as day, I heard the whisper of a voice say, "I can't." I even had other people listening to the recording, skeptics and all, and they said they heard it too. I deleted the recording when someone told me ghosts can follow you if you have a photograph or some kind of recording of them. They don't like to be captured in any way, and I didn't know that. I don't need phantoms stalking me now. Some time passed, and I was again home alone in my bedroom. I think I was watching TV or reading a book, just enjoying the night by myself. There was nothing remarkable going on, but then the door slammed shut with a force that felt angry. I was honestly surprised nothing broke. I ran out of the house and waited for someone else to get home. There were no instances where I felt absolutely afraid until that happened. I never stayed home alone again. Be careful meddling with spirits. They too can meddle with you. Hey, I like your channel. I used to have a fairly big one myself. I got 2 of those YouTube plaques and everything. I tell you this story not as a means to instill fear, but as a cautionary tale of what can happen if you end up reaching the wrong people, like I did. This is a fairly long story, but I feel like it's all relevant, so please bear with me. I am a female. I graduated with my undergraduate in 2011 when the economy was still a little bit in shambles. I know you other millennials will know what I'm talking about. I wanted to be an English teacher in a university setting, and I double majored in English and education. I was anxious to get my master's, yet I was dead tired after working part-time and writing more papers than I care to remember, so I moved back in with my parents after school. It was supposed to be temporary, but it lasted a little longer than I expected. I ended up working at a local coffee shop near my parents' house. I honestly didn't mind so much because the customers were so pleasant. Because I began to feel so comfortable and I could sustain myself, I began to push back the plan to continue my education. I was going out with some old high school friends in town the first time I found out I was good with makeup. Brenda, my old bestie, had gotten a job at Sephora and scored a ton of the best top shelf products. I had a lot of time to get ready, so I figured I'd get a little dolled up. I know some of the other girls out there know it's nice to feel pretty. It's amazing what some foundation, an eyebrow pencil, and a good lipstick can do. My friends at the club all said I looked so pretty. I couldn't help but indulge in all the compliments. I'd never really felt ugly per se, but that night I certainly felt beautiful. The makeup felt like a calling for me then and there, and I decided the next day I would commit some time to evolving my skills. After only a couple of months, I felt like I knew enough to teach others. I got a used Canon 5D Mark II, and then worked my way up to a Canon C100. My first YouTube video made it to 100 views in 48 hours. I remember feeling like I made it. I'm sure you know that feeling when you finally start to see progress in an endeavor. After about 6 months, I submitted a request to be monetized and was approved. I was ecstatic. I remember joking with my mom and telling her I found my place in the sun. It felt great to teach other people. Of course, I'd get the occasional rude comment or the creepy ones from scuzzy guys, but I'd block them and move on. It seemed like it was part of my day to delete his comments, but then I just stopped paying attention. A year after starting my channel, I was officially making enough money to quit my job at the coffee shop. I knew it was time to commit myself to teaching makeup. It was so fulfilling to do something I loved. For the first time in my life, I was truly happy. I ended up putting together a very small LLC for my makeup brand. I even got my kitchen certified and manufactured at home. I marketed it on the basis that I was cruelty-free and used no animal products. You'd be surprised to know how common shark liver oil, beeswax, honey, etc. are in everyday beauty products. I was nearing the point where I was apartment hunting and thinking about moving out of state, but still in my parents' place. My mother was a corporate paralegal and helped me make the LLC official. I didn't think twice when she said I could use her address as headquarters for the paperwork. I was just happy that I could start to write off expenses. But I found out the hard way that a simple Google search of my name would result in my family's address. About 5 months after I started my brand, I rented a house that was 2 states away from my family's place. It was so cute and I loved having the chance to decorate. Living alone was the best, but I ended up getting a phone call early one day. Some man who identified himself as a detective told me I should rush back to town and refused to tell me over the phone what had happened, but I had a suspicion. Urgent phone calls like that are never a good thing. I drove 8 hours and met the detective at the precinct. It turned out both my parents were dead. My old stalker got tired of me ignoring his advances, so he showed up to my parents' house looking for me. A singular Google search of my name led him directly to my mom's and dad's house from when I registered my LLC's business address there. It was a grisly scene too. He ambushed them in their sleep, the coward. He brought a knife with him, knowing he was going to hurt or kill that night, and took out my father first and then my mother. I guess he thought killing them was the next best thing to killing me. I couldn't think of a way for a person to hurt me more. It broke me. My mother was my best friend and my dad was my protector. You hear it all the time. Be careful what you put on the internet. I thought I was careful. I never posted my location or even what state I lived in. Still, the worst person in the world found out enough to change my life forever. So be careful out there, anyone who uses any form of social media. You never know who is watching. Now it's time to discover which of our stories were true or false. But first, for everyone watching, I would honestly love it if you took a few seconds and wrote in the comments section which story you thought was true before I disclose which one happened. Secondly, I want to say thank you to everyone who has left me compliments about my channel. It truly lifts me and inspires me to go on working. I am a solo act doing this right now. I have no help except for people who submit stories, so it truly means the world. Okay, now for the answer. The first story was where a man who lived in a haunted house captured the voice of a spirit on a recording. This story was true. If you're watching, thank you so much for your submission. The second story dealt with a young girl who was stalked online via her YouTube channel and ended with the creep killing her parents. So did this one happen? Nope. Thankfully, I made this one up. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creepify True or False. If you have a scary story, email it to the link in my bio or send it to reddit.com/creepifystories/submit. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed and liked anything on this channel. It honestly makes my day each time my numbers increase. Be well and have a spooky day.